Beautification. Robert.
All right, I'll call to order the January 16th, 2025 meeting of the Salem Historic Landmarks Commission. So if any new commissioners are joining the board, take our oath of office with our new commissioner.
I, Coral Bean,
So swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon and the city charter and ordinances of the city of Salem, and that I will, to the best of my ability, faithfully and lawfully, perform the duties of the Historic Landmarks Commissioner for same when during my continuance there.
It's always good to have new people on. Will the recorder please take roll call?
Commissioner Hayden,
Present.
Commissioner Hazen,
Present.
Commissioner Olden, Carl Dean, Brenda, Commissioner Strong, Commissioner Weathers, I'm here, and Commissioners Bergman, Strauss, and Morris are all absent.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to move to holding elections for this year's chair and vice chair of the Historic Landmarks Commission. I'm going to make a nomination for the chair since she's absent tonight, but I'd like to nominate Kristen Strauss. Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there other nominations, Chair? Hearing none, so we'll take a vote first on the chair. So if all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, motion passes. Do I get to do the gavel? Passes. All right. Now I will entertain a motion for vice chair.
I move that we elect Kara Kaiser as vice chair of the commission.
Charles seconds.
All right, we have a motion and a second for me to be elected as vice chair. Are there other nominations for vice chair at all? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of electing Kara Kaiser as vice chair, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Okay, motion passes. Correct. Done that. Now, we need to do a special thing here because we have a special guest with us tonight, but we need a motion to modify our agenda to add in a presentation from the city manager. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All right, motion passes to modify the agenda. I'll now call up our city manager, Keith Staley. Is that how you say it? All right,
Yes.
great. Keith, we've met before, it's been a while, so.
Yes.
Welcome to the HLC.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. That's good. Here. All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Keith Staley. I'm the city manager. And for those of you who are not familiar with municipal governance, city manager is, thank you. Yeah, press the green button. I've never heard that before. Rookie mistake. For those of you who are not familiar with municipal governance, the city manager essentially is the CEO of the organization. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. This is my first time to the Historic Landmarks Commission. I know you all do great work. Kimberly and Lisa, we work regularly together. So your work. And thanks for what you do. Thanks for volunteering and being part of this endeavor. Follow the city of Salem work that we do. So I'm here this evening to talk to you about where we are from a budget perspective. Last night, that was last night. I was here till 10 o'clock last night. Were you here, Lisa? We're not here.
That would have been 4 night meetings.
All right.
I counted it.
You did. You're getting a soft in your advanced years here with the city. Yeah, I was here last night till 10 o'clock talking about our budget. We had our kickoff with our budget committee. And I want to spend a few minutes with each of the boards and commissions, and I'll get into the reason for that a little bit. But we're in the toughest budget situation that the city's been in maybe ever. I know you've probably heard that before, and all talk about the cliff. The city can never go off the cliff, so be comforted that we're not going to drive off the cliff. If we drive off the cliff, that's when the state comes in and seizes control of operations, and that's not good. So that's never going to happen. But we do have a $13.8 million projected shortfall in our budget, and that's nearly 80% of our fund balance, or our general fund, which is about $180 million. So it's a lot of money, and there are only 2 levers in the general fund. One is the revenue lever, the other is the expense lever. Simple as that. And we're in that conversation. We basically started it last night. Which lever are we going to pull? We're going to be coming back to the city council in a work session next Monday, Tuesday, the 21st, to talk to them about whether or not we're going to move forward with a levy. Levy that we put forward to the voters in May of 2025. So that's why I'm here this evening. I've been doing this for 2.5 years now, and I hear from people that, oh, this is unique to Salem, it's some sort of mismanagement or self-induced crisis. That's not the case. When you look around the state of Oregon, nearly every municipality in the state of Oregon is having some sort of budget difficulty. They're looking at either increasing revenues, here's some examples, or decreasing expenses, going on one of those 2 levers to help balance the books. That's essentially because the state and the voters back in the 90s adopted 2 measures, measures 5 and 50, that impact both the way that property is added to the tax rolls and the amount of revenue that can be generated from property taxes, from ad valorem taxes. It constrains the growth of ad valorem taxes to a maximum of 3% per year, which of course lags well behind the cost of doing business. Our most recent police contract, for example, increased wages about 9%. So 9 is greater than 3. So right there, we're 6% behind in that particular group. So But this isn't to blame anybody for that, simply to point out the realities of where we are. The city has already made substantial and significant budget cuts. Here are some examples. Last year, in the current year's budget, we reduced parks operation by $278,000. We no longer provide social service grants. We eliminated that program, $400,000. Special program outreach team, $625,000 to our associates at the Housing Authority. Center 50 plus recreation, $250,000 out of those budgets, and youth development program, $224,000. All of that eliminated. Also from the general fund, but being covered by different resources now. $260,000 out of our Safe Park program, $150,000 out of shelter support, and $199,000 out of substance use prevention program. So, and then just continuing on here, some other one-time reductions. Deferred equipment replacement, basically said we're not going to buy new vehicles this year. Saved us $850,000. We took a 1% reduction on materials and services and a 10% reduction on our supply budget for $430,000 reduction. And then department directors, we take the cost of living, which was 3% for general employees, and saving a total of $112,000. And then in 2024, we also made some mid-year adjustments to the library, where we eliminated 6.35 positions, saving $789,000, and police positions, we eliminated 5 police positions for nearly $1 million in reductions. So yes, we have been making reductions, and the story of our reductions goes all the way back to 1990, when measures 5 and 50 passed. Shortly thereafter, the city started to on this basic decline in our level of service. You can see here, officers per thousand has decreased from 2015 to 2025. Library hours has decreased. Our fire response time has decreased as fire calls have almost exponentially increased, and our population has increased by 22,000 people in that time frame. And essentially, we've added a few positions responded. So here's the meat and potatoes of the budget discussion, and kind of what our conversation centered around last night. The first column is the current year's budget, what we're in right now. We call it our 2025 budget. Budgets are named after the year that they ended. So our 2026 budget, next up, the one that we're currently formulating and talking about, ends in July, or actually June 30th of 2026. We're anticipating a $13.8 billion budget deficit there. And as you can see, as you extend it out into the future, it doesn't get better. There is no magic like, oh, well, if we can just get through this year, everything's going to be fine. That's not the case. It continues to get worse. There are some bright spots. We have these things called URAs, urban renewal areas. There's a couple of them that are aging out, if you will. The Northgate URA and the Mill Creek URA, they are reaching maximum indebtedness, and we will have the opportunity to bring them onto the tax rolls. That'll add about $4 million, but not until 27 and 28 budget years. So we've still got a ways to go. And $4 million obviously doesn't add up to 13.8 million, but it's helpful out there. And that helps level out some of the future strengths there. The last thing that I'll say about this slide is the bottom row there that says council policy. That's our fund balance policy, and basically it says that we will maintain in the bank 15% of our revenues. That's so that when October comes around, we don't run out of cash. Literally, we don't run out of cash so that we can continue to pay payroll and pay our expenses without having to borrow from other funds. Because our ad valorem taxes basically come in a lump sum in November from the county. We literally transfer almost $100 million to us in November. So we have to maintain some funds in our fund balance. It also helps with our bond rating, which is critical when you're selling bonds for things like the safety improvements that were approved in 2022. We have 2 more tranches of bonds to sell, probably to sell $100 million next year, and then 3 years thereafter, we can sell another $100 million. So interest rates matter, and our bond rating matters, and having money in the bank, maintaining that fund balance matters. So it's a critical aspect of this. What have we learned so far? We learned that the payroll tax was not the path to solving our budget problem. Payroll tax had some advantages over a levy. It was a one-time approval, but obviously getting forced onto the ballot and losing 83% of the voters voting against it, it wasn't the right way forward. And we made some mistakes in how we rolled that out. Did not involve the community, and we recognized that wasn't the way to roll on that. In the 25 budget process, last year's budget process, we learned that every single program has advocates and community interest, and there's nothing in the city budget that is just throwaway. We talked last year about closing splash pads and eliminating movies in the park and reducing hours at the library. And there were hundreds of people in this room packed wall to wall. People don't eliminate splash pads, don't eliminate movies in the park, don't eliminate or reduce funding for the library. So, and I'm sure the same would be true for police and fire and other services as well. So we learned that there's no easy choices, and frankly, splash pads and movies in the park. That will be the easy stuff this year. We'll be way beyond that. We're talking about $13.8 million. We invited folks in a process we called the Revenue Task Force. They spent 6 months with us. We had a facilitated process, long conversations, 26 people in this room, hours of conversations. And they essentially came back and said, you got 2 options. One would be a payroll tax or an income tax. The other would be a levy. And given the outcome of the payroll tax, none of us were all that anxious to run that experiment again, at least initially, to see what happens with the income tax. They also recommended a payment in lieu of taxes going to the state legislature. The city has been doing that for, since the state was formed practically, and we are back there. It is our #1 legislative priority. I have met with interested parties in the legislature, councilors, mayor, and other interested parties have met with and continue to meet with, and hopefully this year will be the year that we're able to do something similar to what the city of Olympia, capital of the state of Washington, does with their capital campus. The state of Washington pays the city of Olympia $1.7 million a year to provide fire protection to their capital campus. And they just do it as part of their Department of Enterprise Services budget that's authorized every year by the state legislature for every other year. So Revenue Task Force, and then finally we interviewed our community. We had a community survey conducted in September of this year. And there's not a lot of interest for paying more in taxes. Community told us pretty pointedly that you know, probably not. 40% or more of folks on almost everything said, no, I'm not interested. So the lift is really large in order to, the resistance is large of what we need to overcome, but not insurmountable. I'll talk a little bit more about that in that slide. So my responsibility as the chief executive of the city of Salem is to prepare the budget. That is a responsibility that's ascribed to me in the charter. It says, you know, item H of city manager responsibilities, prepare and transmit the budget to the city council. I will do that. I will develop a budget, but you know, listening and being part of the community conversations is part of that. The budget must be balanced and it must be approved by September 3rd or 7th. Sorry, wrong state. It must be approved by June 30th. Yes, thanks. June 30th. So we're headed in that direction already. We're staying focused on what the community's vision is as it's articulated through our comprehensive plan and our rules and regulations and our master plans and the like. We are, hello, you must be calling. We don't initiate new services. There is no one in the city who is coming to me asking to create services. So they may ask, but it's not going to make it into the budget. That I can guarantee. If the city can't provide a service to do it well, service needs to be continued. That's hard to do, as we've seen. Eliminating splash pads, you know, turning off the water in irrigation in parks. That's hard to do. Use one-time revenues for one-time costs. It's a budgetary sin to use dollars that aren't reoccurring or expenses that are going to be reoccurring. So we try to avoid doing that. We need to be, of course, be good stewards of tax dollars, and we need to take care of our employees. Most of our employees are unionized, so we negotiate contracts with the majority of our employees. And we, of course, honor those contracts and we negotiate in good faith, and we attempt to pay our employees at market. We want to be competitive. We want to be an employer that people choose to work for, and we want to retain our employees going forward. And that may mean that we have a smaller workforce as a result of that. That's simply the reality of our situation. And then, of course, we want to continue to engage our community, continue to have conversations with our community about what their needs and interests are. And I don't think there's any more direct way of having a conversation with your community than putting something on the ballot and saying, this isn't a survey, this isn't how you might feel, this is real. This is check the box, put it in the envelope and return it so that your vote can be counted. And that's kind of where we are today. So as part of this process, we looked out at what's happened in the state of Oregon here over the last year with levies. And we connected with our peer city up in Gresham, and they passed a levy in May of 24 last year. They had never passed a levy in the history of their city. So never for a capital project, never for operating, they just never passed the levy. They were in a situation where they were going to be closing fire stations and laying off police officers, and they put a levy on in November of 23 and it failed. It failed by 10 points. It failed 54 to 43. they came back, they adjusted that levy, they reduced the rate by 10 cents, they went from $1.45 to $1.35,000. And they were including homeless response services in that levy. They took out the homeless response services and said, we're delivering you public safety services. We're gonna hire 90 police officers and 13 new firefighters, and we're going to maintain 30 public safety officials, officers in the existing budget. And will you approve this, City of Gresham? And they went from failing in November to passing in May, and passing by 54%. So it can be done. You can go from a negative survey to a positive outcome, but it takes in my mind and in talking with the folks from Gresham, it takes 4 things. It takes unanimous and visible support from city council. It will take all 8 of our city councilors, and we have 8 councilors right now. We do have a Ward 6 vacancy as of Julie transitioning to the mayor seat. And it takes our unions, police, fire, ASME being our 3 largest unions, and city employees to be on board. Takes our boards and commissions and our foundations. And if you watched any of the budget meeting last night, the boards and commissions were here in force. They let their interests be known, and community organizations, things like the Chamber of Commerce, the Home Builders Association, the Realtors, social service agencies, and the like, they also need to be on board. I think we're moving in the direction of closing this circle, of having mayor and council be on board and supportive and enthusiastically. That our unions, police, fire, ASME being on board. I think that's realistic. Boards and commissions, I've met with the majority of our boards and commissions now. There's not like planning commission yet, but the majority of our boards and commissions, and none of them have said, "Well, this is a terrible idea. Just forget it and just pull that expense lever." And none of them have said it. And then community organizations, we're in constant conversation with the folks from our community organizations, the Chamber, from Home Builders Association, Realtors, social service agencies. Literally meeting with them this week, talking about, okay, what's it going to take to bring you along? And they have proposed a budget review task force, an efficiency and effectiveness task force, a blue ribbon panel, and we're working on impaneling that panel or task force, and council authorized that, be proceeding with that work on Monday evening. So I'll be pulling together an august body of community leaders to review our current budget and basically determine whether or not it's sound. And I'm confident that it is. Been in this business for almost 40 years. And our budget team is as good as any that I've ever worked with. So confident we'll with this community committees help, we'll find our way to that support. So where are we from a timeline perspective? Obviously we're past August and December, and we've done those things. We did the polling, we're in looking at the operations fee, we're doing community education. We came forward with our 5-year forecast 2.5 months earlier than we normally do. Normally, we come forward with our 5-year forecast this week in January. This year, we said we need the extra time with council and the community and our budget committee, and we came forward in October with the financial forecast. It said $17 million, then back and forth and adjustments, it's now 13.8. But in that time period, we've been able to have really great conversations with the community, and I think we're forming that consensus about being able to present this to our community, so that feels really good. January, literally, yesterday, 5-year forecast was delivered. And city council has to make a decision about whether or not to place a measure on the ballot by the end of February, by February 24th, which is our last meeting of city council in the month of February, in order for it to be placed on May ballot. So we're meeting next Tuesday in a work session with city council here in this room, and we'll be presenting them with some options for moving forward with a levy. The levy would, of course, support Parks, Recreation Center 50+ and library. We will propose on Tuesday a modest restoration of library service. And as I noted earlier, we reduced library service last year. So we'll be proposing a modest restoration of those services, and we'll see where council wants to go. I'm hopeful and optimistic, but I appreciate the opportunity to come and chat with you for a few minutes, and I'm happy to answer questions. Where we are and where we're going.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of questions. Is there a reserve fund in addition to the 15% sequestered toward the in October? And do you have an additional reserve?
Our fund balance is our reserve for the general fund. Each of our funds, there are 24 different funds within the city budget. The city budget in total is about $750 million. The general fund's $190 million, and we retain a $26 million fund balance in that particular fund. In each of the other funds, we also maintain a fund balance. So in total, there's much more than $26 million in the city's bank accounts. Yeah.
My understanding is that the transient occupancy tax is that the rate is locked in the city charter. Is that correct?
It is. It's limited to 9%. That's the charge against on hotel loans.
Right. Is there any interest in doing a charter amendment in order to be able to match the TOT rate in other cities?
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility for future years. That TOT funds, transient occupancy tax, wouldn't do much for the general fund. You know, that we can't use that to pay for police and fire, parks and recreation, some parks and recreation, but not police and fire, which is the general fund budget. Let's call it $190 million. Police and fire is $120 million. So it's a substantial portion.
And does the state of Oregon help pay for services like, firefighters and that sort of thing? Are they, because they are exempt from the property tax.
Correct.
With their enormous property holdings in the city of Salem? So are they paying anything for city operations and city services?
They pay us. They share a little bit of revenue for marijuana and alcohol. The sin taxes, if you will. They pay the city operations fee, which is $73 a month if you have a water meter for a commercial account. But they don't pay ad valorem taxes, and if they were paying those taxes, they would be paying about $7.3 million a year to us, which obviously would go a long ways towards closing our deficit. But they do not.
Yeah, well, that's it just kind of opens up a big conversation and a big hole in the budget for the services that the city of Salem provides. So If there's anything that we can do, or the city of Salem or its residents can do to convince the legislature and the governor that they should be supporting these crucial services in Salem would be helpful.
The governor has indicated that she's supportive if a bill gets to her desk. So a bill's gotta get to her desk. And, you know, for better or for worse, our local delegation certainly understands the need and is supportive, but and the local delegation does not constitute a majority of the House or the Senate, so we've got to bring those folks along in one way or another.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Other questions or see? I've got a question for you. So you're looking at for May possibly. Option 1 revenue measure vote. So is that the levy you were
Yes.
talking about? And I know it has to go through council approval still, have that conversation, but the goal, if council agrees to it, would be to put that onto the May ballot. What is the timeline? Like how soon does that have to happen? Does it need to be received by the clerk's office and all that?
Council has to take action by February 24th.
Okay,
They have to direct the city attorney and city manager to transmit to the county the ballot language as they have approved it on February 24th. If they wait, then it has to be November.
so if you did that, let's presume that council will approve that, just for the sake of discussion. Would you also then look at getting council approval for your options 2 and 3 for November as well? Or is that a kind of, we have a May option, we would wait postpone for November?
Sure.
Okay,
One at a time.
one at a time, see how it takes.
Yes.
And I'm presuming that should council approve for a revenue measure on the May ballot that like you said, you have the support of the commissions and community and council and all of those folks to stand behind that effort to rally people to approve that.
I hope so. The levy that is being contemplated and council will be talking about on Tuesday evening is to cover parks, recreation, center 50+ in libraries. We'll be presenting them with an option to fund that at about 98 cents per thousand, which generates about $14 million. And that's essentially covered all the operating costs associated with the services. Plus a little bit extra, $1.2 million for the library to restore the services that they lost last year and give them a little bit more capacity to be open for some longer hours.
Anybody else have questions? All right. Well, city manager, thank you very much for the information and the presentation and for taking time to speak with us tonight. Looking forward to seeing what council does here
Me too.
soon.
Me too. Thank you. All right. Have a good evening. Well,
Okay, we will move on to public comment. Don't see anybody in the room physically. I don't know if we have anybody online. No, nobody's online. All right, so we just skip that one. Move to the consent calendar, and we have. Looks like
First, just for the,
oh,
for the
yeah.
record, Commissioner Strong going to meeting at 5:57.
Perfect. I got the note, and I meant to say that. So
And then, first we have the approval of the minutes from our December 19th.
yeah, so for the, okay, so those are under the consent calendar, so should I take these one by one, then, the minutes and then the 2 action items?
Yeah.
Consent calendar, we'll just vote on them separately.
Yeah.
Okay, alright, so we have the minutes, you just said the date, and I don't remember now what you said, approval of minutes.
December 19th.
December 19th, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion?
I move approval of minutes for the 19th.
A motion by Counselor Eastman, or not Counselor, excuse me, Commissioner Eastman, to approve the December 19th, 2024 minutes. Is there a second?
Charles seconds.
All right, Commissioner Weathers, is a second. Is there any discussion? Or any corrections? Hearing none. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Let's do gavel, motion passes. All right, we have two action items. So we have a update to our HLC bylaws, and is there a staff presentation?
Yes, hi. Sorry, I just pulled it up. Scroll and see the changes. Yes, we're changing the quorum. This came up at planning commission. We had 3 vacancies for quite a few months waiting for council. And it was very difficult to have 5 members, so we changed it to a majority of the appointed members, which means tonight. Now it would be late because you only have 8 members currently. So we made that change. Skipped over something. Sorry. Scrolling. Nope. Annual report and work plan, rule number 5. Just wanted to change it to say each year because we don't always get to control. We don't get to control the agenda for council, so even though we may be ready, we may get bumped and we don't want to break the rules like that. So. And then on conduct of hearings on land use matters under 8.2b. This came up at planning commission. There were folks testifying, and now that all the meetings are recorded and they're on Zoom and they kind of live forever on our YouTube page, people aren't wanting to state their address out loud just to testify because they feel like it's kind of invasion of privacy or if somebody disagrees with their testimony. So after much discussion at planning commission, we changed the rules to say they can just provide their address in writing to me, to the staff person, whatever. They don't feel comfortable saying that. I know council people say their ward, which is fine, but for land use hearings, if somebody wants to have standing to appeal, they need to actually provide their address or email address so we can send them the notice and they fully can have their rights. So we wanted to make that change here. We should be fine with that. And then under time limits for speakers, this also came up at planning commission recently, and I don't know why, but we've never listed the time limit for an appellant. So when we were hearing an appeal of a case, we wanted, that's the first thing the appellant asked, how much time do I get? Everybody else is in the rules. And we didn't have that planning commission either, or hearing officer, but the council was always added. So our proposal is to change it to be the same as the neighborhood, so 10 minutes. Applicant always gets more time just because they're the ones that have the burden of proof in each case. So. No. In the event of a tie, especially this would be important right now with only having 8 members or somebody's gone. If it's an appeal and there's a tie, the rule is, and it just wasn't clear, it wasn't in here, but it's generally the rule in land use, then the decision of the lower review authority stands. So if there was a motion to say, deny the application and Kimberly had approved it, and that motion tied, failed, then Kimberly's decision is outside of council decision. And that was the last change in that.
Thank you. Are there any questions, discussion? Questions for staff? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the changes to the Landmarks Commission rules as presented in the staff report.
Right, Commissioner Ingman moves to adopt the changes proposed by the HLC bylaws. Is there a second? All right, Commissioner Strawn seconds. Is there any discussion? I'll just say that all of these make a lot of sense to me, especially rules around quorum, as that can be extremely difficult, and all the other things make a lot of sense. All right, All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say no. Right, passes. Then our second action item we have is to adopt our 2024 annual report and 2025 work plan. Is there a presentation? I see that there is one.
Yes, just a
Right.
Where would be floating this picture? It just looks like we're floating above a charming village. On your desktop. Okay, Kimberly Fitzgerald, Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Salem. So I've got here the cover of our beautiful 2024 accomplishments and 2025 work plan. I'm going to briefly share the content, just a quick overview. So last year, between January and December, the Landmarks Commission held 9 public meetings and 7 public hearings, and we reviewed a total of 33 historic design reviews, with 26 of those being administrative reviews completed by staff. And again, while the other 9 went before HLC as your major historic design reviews. We also held our regular monthly tribal roundtable and completed 32 archaeological clearance reviews. And then we also did completed 13 city-owned historic property reviews. So we're keeping busy. We continue, I didn't put this up on the screen, but we continued with our residential toolbox grant, and we had the special fund grant this year with the restoration of historic features grant. And you see a picture there on your screen of the Qingming Festival. We celebrated our 6th annual Qingming in April. And then we had our 10th annual historic photo contest. We had 18 entries last year, with a mix of adult and youth submissions. And the HLC presented awards during Historic Preservation Month. And then on the right-hand of the screen, we did our annual awards. The Ben Maxwell Award was given to actually 3 folks this last year. In the categories of new construction, compatibility with the district, and residential and public. You can see the criteria in schoolhouse there in the middle. That was a public one. And then the Virginia Green Award was presented as well as the Cultural Landscape Award, and then Captain Lynn got the chair award for her work with the statesmanship. So our public archaeology project continued. This last year we moved over to Willamette University, but also wrapped up work at the parsonage at the Willamette Heritage Center. And the Landmarks Commission was recognized with the Oregon Heritage Excellence Award. And we also completed work on our Heritage Disaster Resilience Plan that was pulled together by the U of O, and that will be coming forward to the commission this upcoming year. It's part of our adoption process. So I'm going to just go quickly. This is a terrible slide. This should be an example of what not to do. Too many words. So this is in your packet. As you can see, we've got quite a few goals here. We have 6 goals, and this is what we call cumulative. Maybe in the world of historic, cumulative adverse effect. No, cumulative positive effect. So I've circled just a handful of things that we're going to focus on. I think one of our challenges in the last year, as you probably experienced directly, is that we kind of bite off more than we can chew here. So wanting to make this year a bit more achievable in terms of goals. So looking at doing one or two things within each area. So goal one is improving public outreach and community education. So I've circled here, we're continuing to celebrate our Historic Preservation Month, May with awards and continuing the photo contest. And then we started working with the STAN as our next heritage neighborhood, so continuing that work. And then skipping ahead to, as far as our code updates, we're gonna be adopting our disaster resiliency plan, and we're gonna need to be updating our comp plan and may need to adopt some additional code to comply with the new cultural resource protection rules. And then staff has actually already applied for additional grant funds to help support our continuing with our residential toolbox grant. And then again, continuing to do work on survey and designation. So the Jason Lee Archaeological Site is moving forward. That's going to SACHP in February as part of a larger NPD. And then, as you know, we're working towards the Criterion Schoolhouse, getting that locally designated and moving forward with implementing. So I'm recommending to Landmarks Commission that you accept the 2024 annual report and the 2025 HLC work plan to forward on to City Council with a specific recommendation to have the chair attend the next available council. That concludes this time.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Kimberly? Sure, even.
On page 8 of the work plan, I saw one layout issue where a picture was over part of the text. So just wanted.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll have that fix that.
Any other questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the 2024 annual report and 2025 HLC work plan and forward that on to City Council, which would be a presentation from the HLC chair to present this as possible. Question.
I just want to make a note for the commissioners that there is a page with short little biographies for each of you. This is for our commissioners from last year. And if you would like any of that language updated, please to let me know. The one that you have in front of you is a pretty almost there draft, but obviously there's some small formatting changes and things that I'll be making before we actually send it to council. So if you'd like any of that changed, please let me know.
We will take a look. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion for all that I just rattled off.
I move that the commission adopt the annual report and the work plan.
All right, we have a motion from Councilor Eman to adopt the annual report and work plan and forward to City Council. Is there a second?
Charles seconds.
Second by Commissioner Withers. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion passes. All right, we have no public hearings. Move into special orders of business. We have work plan assignments. Kimberly.
Kimberly Fitzgerald, Historic Preservation Officer. You can continue sharing. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'll just go to the next. Look at this fun little picture. So this is really an opportunity for folks to volunteer for what they're interested in. Again, I've extremely simplified the list, so it's hopefully more manageable and achievable. And I'm going to turn it back over to Acting Chair Keyser to facilitate the discussion.
Yeah, so the 2025 work plan, kind of like Kimberly was saying earlier, we've been ambitious with our work plans in the past, trying to maybe be more reasonable, achievable, all of that. So with these 6 areas, I think the photo contest, I don't know if we usually it's on the photo contest. How is that typically done? Is that Zach?
I usually will call a meeting if the commissioners are interested and we decided any changes are gonna be made to the program. So in the past, we've like edited categories or changed the timeline of when we accept submissions and things, and then I put it all together and get it out there. So it'll probably be one, maybe two meetings just to see if we want to make changes. I know last year we talked about opening it up earlier. But that's it.
Typically do that in May, is that
We vote on it in May.
in May?
And we had talked about doing it instead where we vote on it in April so that we can celebrate
In May.
winners in May.
Right.
So that's what we talked about last year, but that's whoever wants to be on that committee. It'll be one, maybe two meetings.
Is there any funding to add a small financial prize to that in order to incentivize people to participate?
That is a question for Kimberly, and I could presume.
Well, potentially, we can find out if it can be something that's part of our CLG grant, certified local government grant, which this is our year to apply, so Robert, if you use he works for Shobo, but that's not his hat tonight, so we can follow up and find out.
In the past, we have offered some rewards, but they have always been donated by commissioners.
I don't know how this stuff works, but cool, can a business sponsor it? Sponsor the gifts to give to the thing, you know, there's the shutter
So
boat.
not even this.
Or yeah, so like I.
Okay, so I guess Kimberly, you're looking for somebody to take the photo contest as far as assignment.
Yeah, so we would love to be writing down names,
Names.
so the photo contest is listed first because that's the first thing on the
It's
calendar.
nameless.
So we need, we're taking names.
Nameless photo contest, is
Yes,
anybody,
please.
is any commissioner interested in kind of taking on the photo contest? Sounds like it would be relatively.
I'll be happy to work on it, especially if I can get a, local business person to chip in, maybe.
There might be an opportunity right there.
Sponsorship opportunity, titled photo contest.
Charles will also participate in the administration of the photo contest as his parents were lifelong photographers, and so therefore it's his story.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Look at that personal connection. Love it. Okay. And then the awards, Historic Preservation Month awards, these are the Ben Maxwell awards. So what's kind of, are we looking to again, what do we typically do? We have a
Right,
submission
so
process.
similar to the photo contest, we're looking for a commissioner, several commissioners to help not only with preliminarily identifying potential award winners, and staff helps with that to bring to the commission to vote on, and then also in the past, and Zach helped me remember, I feel like in the past, I don't know if we've been consistent, we definitely always give an award, but in the past, sometimes we've also given gift baskets or something, but I can't recall.
I'm just during COVID,
In
I know you didn't.
I do kind of remember something.
my
We could have.
in my time, we've only done plaques. We haven't done anything in addition to.
Might have been way back in the day.
It was a
Different
different day,
decades.
we were really excited, I think, there's cookies.
Just food, we skip food.
Very realistic.
I would be interested in doing this one. Are others interested? I'm always happy to be collaborative.
What are you doing with those that aren't here?
Yeah.
Signing.
Assigning.
Yeah, that's not my.
Yeah,
Just actually do it.
so we have, for the other areas, we have Andy, who's our former commissioner. He just rolled off in December, but he's going to agree to still do the public education review, social media stuff. And then, Julianne is doing the designation of local nominations. And then the SCAN Heritage Neighborhood, Kristen's gonna do that. And then archaeology, Jessica.
And we don't have anything from Chris. So we
And Chris Morris is doing nothing.
Assign Chris. But then Robert, of course, you can jump in.
Yeah, so feel free to join any of these ones. I mean, honestly, the effort, the work effort's fairly. Really, it's just kind of getting people together to work. I think the historic preservation month awards are. The commissioners vote on those, right? Yeah, like we have like a Google form, kind of go through, really. Maybe not.
Not for that one.
Okay, there's a voting process
You
that
vote,
happens,
yeah.
yeah, and then, do we give those out in May also, is that later, it's in May?
Well, we try.
Yeah, we try, and we bring up the award recipients here at a meeting, celebrate what they've done, give them their plaque / food, gift basket, so. But yeah, feel free to participate in any of these. It's your first meeting, so we need to work. I don't know if you want to walk through the rest of these or not, we do have kind of people already dedicated to.
I think it's fine. I think, starting next month, though, we're gonna be asking people how they're doing already, because that's usually what we do every month, is just kind of have a check-in, so. Since we don't have everybody here, so we can continue this conversation next month, so if you want some time to think about it, remember, and ask questions about what you might be getting yourself into, you can certainly take the time to do that, but we've got a good start, I think.
So Kimberly's gonna expect a progress report.
I will,
From
yeah.
everybody.
Mhm.
In writing.
No, it's just.
In writing, yes.
It's a
In paper.
presentation.
Okay. All right, other special order of business is the newsletter.
So, as most of you know, we've got, our printed newsletter is supposed to go out, this month. I have not received any of my articles yet for it. So I'm hoping to do that. I know, I'm letting Chris off a little bit easy because she's been sick the last week. And I knew she was gonna do last minute things, so, but, I know, for sure, is there even, said that you would write something?
Did I?
I thought so.
I didn't hear that at all.
I thought so. But I'll go through the minutes and I'll send individual emails to everyone, so that they gotta do something in their last meeting. But maybe I'm conflating that with, you have the idea for our next
I
issue.
have an idea for like during like an election.
Yeah.
Cycle.
Yeah.
Voters pamphlets.
So. That was a previous.
Oh, okay, ghost story, and I do have ghost story.
But so I will send individual emails to each of the commissioners tomorrow who signed up for something. And hopefully we will get that sort of away and out very soon. But then otherwise it's just deciding on a theme for our spring newsletter, which will go out in late March. So I know that you had the voter pamphlet idea, but that's probably gonna be our fall.
Yeah, we could do it either, for a lot of the May, it's primary, it's not like a general thing or whatever. So, yeah, we could save it for fall. I can write it whenever, honestly, so.
That, yeah, I don't know if we wanna do that for our next one, or if anyone has any suggestions for our next newsletter. The summer one is generally always subjects of our photo contest, so that one's squared away, we're good there, but last year we did like gardens and landscapes was our theme for spring, so anyone has some ideas for this year's spring theme? Well, we have a little bit of time, but the more time we take to decide on the theme, the less time we have to write the
I was
article.
thinking something around like maps. Something like that.
Love cartography.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Kimberly, specifically in your office, you have a very cool, I don't know what they call it, it's a map. It's like a bird's eye view map, that's pretty neat. I know there's some others that exist, those Salem. And then there is the Sanborn maps, which a lot of folks, I don't know if they know about those. And they are really cool, and especially you get a hold of the paper ones, because they're all in color. Everything that, it could be fun just to write something about that and direct people to where they might be able to see them. Because I think you could find them at the Willamette Heritage Center.
They're also all online.
Yeah, online.
Library, in fact.
Oh, they give library,
So maybe we could,
they still subscribe.
we could check. Might be a good feed into the library though, like, hey, look at these, look at your house, whatever.
There was an exhibit at the Bush facility that had a lot of Native American maps, and there were drawings and, you know, early diagrams of the Salem area and some of the. I just remember seeing those things and they were very interesting, and I hadn't seen them reproduced anywhere else before.
David Lewis just published a book. And he's the one who coordinated that.
Okay.
So he
Perhaps you could give permission to
Maybe.
to republish something from that. Because I remember looking at what's called Mill Creek now, used to be Chemeketa. This area was Chemeketa. So it was like,
It's almost like you could also do an article on names. Maps and places.
place names, yeah. How
Many
they,
names of Salem.
I think we have a spring meet, so that is the end of my presentation.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, information reports. Public comments? Don't think there's any public here, not online. Historic Preservation Officer.
So I just want to welcome Robert Obina. I'm putting you on the spot. I to not warn you. If you want to say hi to everybody and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, guess that saves you from a long speech. Hi everyone, Robert Levine. Happy to be here and looking forward to this opportunity to serve with you all. My day job, I work in the historic preservation field. I work for the State Historic Preservation Office here in Salem. Doing a lot of compliance and regulatory review. But we had held previous jobs there with the National Register program and tax programs and survey programs, kind of a list we could have gone. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be a good opportunity to participate in this. I've seen other communities and kind of how their missions have engaged. So I've helped with our certified local government program, which I alluded to earlier. So hopefully I can contribute a thing to this. So thanks for having me.
Thank you and welcome. Yeah. And the only other, there's just a few things I wanted to give you a heads up on if you're interested in more training. At the end of this month, there's going to be an online training. Maybe Jake can explain more because I may remember bits of it about survey. So like if you are wanting to help with the SCAN neighborhood, heritage neighborhood, we're going to be doing survey and they have a full training available online. So maybe follow up with Jake. And then, we are the window workshop. There's a window workshop in Astoria in the spring-ish sometime. Do you know any details? Anyway, is it in March? See? In March. So again, if you have an interest in any additional training, just follow up with staff and we can get you more details on what's going on.
Is that through CLATSA? Or who's putting that on?
It's, you speak.
Yes. Yes.
Put your kid.
Sorry, I'm blanking on the trade group, but it's the Window Restorers Trade Group.
National.
Yeah, they're the nationwide, I'm blanking on the name of it, but they have folks from all over.
Nice, that's great.
And yeah, it's interesting, they're just happening in Pacific Northwest this year, they do it in different states.
Very cool.
And that's all I have. And there's cookies. Take
Anybody
a cookie before.
have any questions? I have one question, Kimberly, because it came up at a different meeting on that. Senate bill, I think it's 1537. Is that gonna impact us at all? This is specifically the part where developers can ask for up to 10 adjustments if it involves housing.
I'll let Lisa take that.
Yeah, so that bill has an exemption the city can ask for, Salem has applied for that exemption.
Okay,
It's open for comment right now on TLC. And hopefully we will get approved. In order to apply for that exemption, we did code amendment last summer. When was it here? You guys had the joint hearing with the planning commission.
Yeah.
And that's where we had to change some of the historic rules to allow people to do administrative review. We'll have they could pick the option to come to the commission. So in order to qualify for that, you have to have an administrative kind of adjustment or review process for anything to do with housing.
Yeah.
And we have that for most of our stuff, but we didn't for historic, few specific zones where things went to planning commission. So we made those changes. We also had to demonstrate that we've approved all housing adjustments requested, 90% of all of them requested in the last 5 years. So we submitted that. We're waiting to hear. So hopefully, the idea from the bill is developer on a project can just submit 10 adjustments and the city approves them no matter what. And what the bill says if we don't approve exemptions.
do we know when that we're supposed to get some type of decision about the exception?
Yeah, a few months, DLC gives themselves, I think, 120 days to make a decision, but if they deny it, we could appeal it to the commission.
What do we do in the meantime?
In the meantime, we are exempt because we've submitted that exemption.
Okay, alright, yeah, I was just wondering about the intersection with us as a body.
Yeah, and we are monitoring new legislation. And there's one that we're really looking at, it's coming out of the governor's office, and again, it's under the big umbrella of housing. But there is some, I'll just say some concerning language in there related to National Register properties, wanting to exempt how is the language, it's really oddly written, start out as new houses. And if a new developer was constructing new housing, then the language says that the local jurisdiction would need to exempt demolition of National Register resources. Yeah, and that's evolving. Restore Oregon wrote a letter and they added some language which states that if they've gone through the local process for designation, then they would not be exempt. But the concern is, like here in Salem, our districts were all established before the, 2017 National Register rule changes in Oregon. So we didn't go through that local designation, separate hearing process, which we do now. But we didn't then, so it's really unclear whether it would apply. I know that the National Register rules were written in such a way to they didn't apply to moving back. This isn't clearly written, so if it goes worst case scenario, it would need to go to rulemaking and keep looking hard because it would be most likely facilitated by Sugar. But anyway, so we don't know what that will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll see what else happens or pops up during legislative session. You convening on Tuesday. Huh? All right, let's see, I think commissioner comments, we go to the order. Anybody have any comments? No comments. There's cookies. Welcome, Robert. Okay, well, I think with that, I will now close the meeting of the Historic Landmarks Commission.